Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode. I'm really excited for this one because it's a little bit different from what we've kind of done in the past, but it should be good. But I have Laura here with us today. She is a personal wardrobe stylist. She's an Air Force spouse for over 20 years. And you're going to have to tell us the story of how you met your husband because I think it's absolutely hilarious. So we'll get into that. But I wanted to welcome you to the podcast. Like I said, it's a little bit different, but I think it makes a ton of sense to have you on as a style expert because I think so many times people are afraid to host because they don't think they like look the part, or maybe they're afraid to say yes to an event because they don't feel like confident in what they're wearing or they have anything
Sure.
to wear. So I think it'll be a lot of value that you bring to the podcast today. So I'm excited for the listeners to hear you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Oh, you might as well just tell us the spouse story because it's just too good to not.
Okay, well, if you get my version versus my husband's version, they're a little bit different. He jokes that, he's a pilot, so it only has to be 10% true. But the very, very shortened version of it is that I grew up in San Antonio and I had a friend who was dating a cadet at the Air Force Academy. And he had a friend. She called me one day when I was at college and said, "Hey, my boyfriend has a friend who's a cadet here, and they have this ring dance in the spring, and he needs a date. And I just think I always think you guys would be so great together. Would you be interested in meeting him if he came down with my boyfriend and we kind of double dated and maybe be interested in going?" And I was like, "Sure, sounds great." I grew up hearing my grandmother's stories. My grandfather was in the Air Force and the Army Air Corps before that. And so I grew up hearing stories about kind of like the glamorous years of being a military spouse and just grew up in Military City, USA. And so that sounded really exciting to me. And so I met him and he asked me to ring dance. And um, turned out that he did not have a cell phone, but his roommate did. And so he gave me his roommate's cell phone number to call. And if he wasn't there, his roommate would chat me up and was funny and engaging. And eventually I was like, "Hey, who are you going to ring dance with?" And he said, "I don't know. I just broke up with my girlfriend. I'll probably just go ask a waitress from town or something." And I was like, "Hey, I was thinking, I kind of like this guy, but I've said yes to this other guy who's his roommate and to go to the dance. So I was like, but I know how I can hang out with him is to have him bring one of my friends with me." So I had a friend who had just broken up with a boyfriend. And so I kind of set them up and I told her, like, I was totally honest with her and said, "Hey, I kind of like this guy, but I'm going with his roommate to this dance. You want to go up there with me and we can double date and everything?" Well, turns out we get up there and she said, like, the moment we stepped off the plane, she immediately was drawn to my date more than her date. And so by the end of the night on ring dance, the last dance of the night, Justin, uh, my date was Kyle and my friend Sarah was with Justin. Justin asked Kyle, "Can I ask your date to dance?" And according to my husband, he leaned around and looked at Sarah and said, "Only if I can dance with yours." So
Oh,
we danced with each other's dates that night, and that just kind of the rest of the weekend, it was like the super awkward like swap, but eventually they actually got married and we got married. So they're still married with 4 kids. We're still married with 3 kids. So, and we're still friends. But yeah.
I just think it's so funny. Well, it's just funny too how like military academies like that work. It's like,
Oh yeah.
oh, I have a friend of a friend of a friend, like just come
Oh
and
yeah.
enjoy time. But then
I
like
just
you
need
really
a
hit it
date.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the fact that you guys just like swapped is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
It's really funny when you said like if you ask my husband, he'll get a different side of the story. We were at like this party thing and went
Hmm.
through our kids' school fundraiser. And the guy that was kind of hosting it, he's like super personable, he's in sales, and you can tell. Um,
Yeah.
and he said, let's go around and everybody tell us how you met your spouse, but we want to hear like the wife say it and the husband say it, and it was so funny to hear like they're kind of the
The
same
difference.
story, but they're not, like not totally the same story.
Oh,
So,
I'm sure.
oh gosh. Anyway, I just thought that was so funny when I read that. Like you swapped dates and you both got
Yep.
married, and that's so
Yep.
funny how that works out. But okay, well, let's talk a little bit about like being a personal wardrobe stylist and like how you got started with that. Did you always enjoy, like, grow up enjoying like fashion or like shopping or whatever? Like, some people love it, some people hate it. So, like, how did you get
Yeah.
into it?
Yeah, for sure. It can be a very not divisive issue, but people are not lukewarm about shopping. Women especially
Yeah.
are not lukewarm about clothes shopping, I have learned. Um, I did grow up loving clothes and loving shopping. That was what my mom and I did together. That was like our thing. When I was in college, she would call me and be like, "Hey, Dillard's has a sale this weekend. If you come home, I'll take you shopping." Like that was just what we did together. So, I always loved it. I went to school to be a teacher, so I do have like a teaching background, and I've always loved working with kids. But I've been a stay-at-home mom since we had kids, and have loved it. But a couple years ago, my husband was deployed for a year, and I had lost my mom.
Mm.
It's just been a really rough year with him gone, and I just felt like I was looking. I needed something, and the opportunity presented itself to train under a stylist that I actually worked with when we lived in Virginia. We were stationed in Northern Virginia, and again, it was like a rough spot in life, and I found this lady who was starting a new business as a stylist working with everyday women. And I don't know if you ever watched What Not to Wear, but it was like the height of this,
I have loved
the
that show.
height of Clinton and Kelly. Okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do that, but of course, not be ambushed, right? Like, I want to do it by choice. And here's this lady who does this. And so that was I want to say, like 33rd birthday gift. My husband, I told him, I was like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do that. He was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do that for you. And so that just helped kind of put some things in place. Like I had a sense of style already, but it gave me some confidence to like know that what I was wanting to do was working, and gave me a different perspective on a few things, just helped me understand um like how to dress my body shape and what I really needed in my wardrobe that would work for the life that I was living, not, like honoring a past life that I didn't have anymore now that I had a couple kids. And in the military, of course, we move around, and I had lived in California previously. Well, living in California and Northern Virginia, those are very different um styles, and
Like
um
climates.
just yes, everything. And so I just felt kind of lost, and that kind of helped me feel a little bit more grounded and confident, and have kind of an idea of like that I was expressing who I was and how I wanted to be perceived appropriately with how I dressed. And so I kind of followed that same stylist. And then a couple years ago, she was offering training to women to become personal stylists and start their own business. And so again, my husband, always so supportive, was like, yeah, absolutely. If you want to do that, do it. And so that's how I got started. I did the training, and just jumped right in, and I love it. I love it. Every time I do it, I come home. I told my husband, I know this is not, I was like, do not mishear me. This is not as important as flying a mission for the Air Force. I understand that. But I think the feeling you get when you fly, that's how I feel when I work with my clients, because immediately I'm making a difference for somebody.
Yeah, that is so cool. You probably can see that like instantly or right away. Like somebody
Yes.
puts on a shirt or a
Yes.
dress or whatever, and
Oh
they
yeah.
like light up.
Yeah. You see it in their face right away. And they're like, oh my gosh, I do like this. This does look good on me. I can wear this. I hear a lot of like, oh, I can't wear that, or it just doesn't look right on me. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I just sometimes we just need somebody to give us permission to do something, even though
100%.
that sounds ridiculous. Like a dietitian to give you permission, like you have permission to eat the donut or whatever. Like we
Yeah.
just need somebody to say, yeah, wear the dress, wear the swimsuit. You look fabulous. And we just it something clicks in our brain.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of things that popped in my head as you were talking.
Mhm.
Like I said before, like I make all these notes and then we start talking and I'm like, oh no, I have these other questions I want to ask. So like you said, you live in different places, like with the military, same thing. We lived in Hawaii and California for like 8 years total. And then we moved to Colorado.
Yeah,
And I was like, what
so different.
shoes am I supposed to wear here? I have been in flip-flops for 8 years, flip-flops
Right.
or
I
like
have to cover my toes.
military boots. Like, how do I deal with this?
Right.
So that is so tricky when you are moving a bunch that you have to like dress differently for different, like you said, styles because of where you live, but also just climates. And then you have all this stuff. So like, what do you do with all this
Right.
stuff for different climates?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a really great question. So there's a couple things. It really, sometimes people really want to hold on to things. They have the room to store it. Great. If that is, you invested in it or whatever, and you just aren't in the headspace to let it go. Okay, then great. Put it in a tub and put it in your attic or whatever. But if you're like us, you're living in base housing and you have very limited storage, or you just don't want to have to, haul it around the country, you need to do a few things. One is, if I have the opportunity to wear it again, like, if you say, you did the reverse, right? Like you go from Colorado to Hawaii, like you're never going to be breaking out those winter boots, those coats, those ski bibs or whatever, unless you go somewhere on vacation. You have to be realistic with yourself. Am I going to do that? Am I going to want to pack that stuff, or would I rather wait till I get to the, to the mainland or whatever and buy it or whatever? Um, is it going to fit me when I have the opportunity to wear it again? Is it going to still be in style? Very few of us, a lot of people like to think that they have quote unquote classic style, but what it really tends to be is dated. Unless you're wearing like Gucci and Chanel suits, Manila Blahniks, like you aren't wearing classic clothes. Classic is typically something that's going to be never out of style, never look dated. Um, if you're wearing a suit from Ann Taylor, I love Ann Taylor. It's not going to be classic. It's not always going to be in style. 10 years from now, it's going to look out of style. It's going to look outdated. So just be realistic with yourself. Like, and I saw something the other day, like if it got dog poop on it, would I really want to keep it? So, you know, I was like, that's actually pretty good. Or if like my kid threw up on it, would I be like, you know what, I really need to wash this? Or would I just toss it and start over? And
Yeah.
so just be really honest with yourself. Like, is it realistic that I'm going to use it in this 2 to 4 year time frame while we live here? Am I really going to want to pull it out again if we move back to that climate? Or if we, even travel to that climate? Or will I want something new? Will I be able to afford something new? I'm very aware that military families, it's not like we're just rolling in cash. And so I'm not just advising people just start over a new wardrobe every time they move, because that's not realistic either. But when it's that like those extreme ends, like snow boots or all the sandals or whatever it is, those things are not going to serve us in our new place, then we can let go of them, or at the very least put them in a box and put them out of line of sight so that it's not adding to our mental clutter every single day.
Yeah. No, that's really good advice. And I'm sure there's so many of us that go through that where it's just like, now I have all these things because I've lived in 14 different places in the last 20 years or whatever.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I was thinking, and this is just kind of my thoughts. The difference between men and women and how, because you mostly work with women, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the difference between men and women and how many more times women have these like different seasons of their lives where they probably will change their style because of what they're going through. So,
Right.
like you said, you have like things from the past. So, like, we're not in our 20s anymore. And then you get married and then you have kids and your body's totally different after having kids, or you're in the military and then you get out of the military. It's like we, as women, I feel like we have all these different transitions and seasons in our lives where we're probably going to dress differently. And I feel
Mhm.
like with most things, guys have it easy. And it's like they're either like, you know, in the military or out of the military, or they're like young and then old. Like they don't have a whole lot of like change. I don't know.
So,
Thought.
well, so to be fair to men, um, it probably style changes a little bit more than maybe they think it does. But they just, most men aren't as committed to keeping up with what's in style.
That's a good
Um,
point.
so like my husband just about died when I got rid of all of his cargo shorts.
Yeah.
Um, and his best argument was, well, I don't like carrying a diaper bag. And so I put all the diapers in there and I was like, we don't have anybody in diapers anymore. So don't need those anymore.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and it's so funny because he finally last year maybe had me, he was like, okay, treat me like a client. Let's go through my wardrobe or whatever. And we did that. And he's like, you're getting rid of so much stuff. And I would ask him all the same questions that I would a normal client. And he was like, I don't love it. I'm kind of tired of it. I wore it every day when I was in Saudi for a year. I don't want to, like that kind of thing. And so I would get rid of stuff. We only bought a few new pieces for him. And he actually afterwards, he was like, I actually feel like I have more, even though I have less clothes. Like I have more because it's almost overwhelming to have so many options. Um, the for men or women, our bodies do go through just more changes. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have children, your body's going to go through a lot more changes than a man's body typically because of hormones and all the things. And it can be really challenging to keep up with that. And ultimately, it's not about wearing what's on trend. That's people think that, like, well, I don't want to have to go buy a bunch of new clothes or whatever. That's not it. You can find stuff that doesn't look dated, but it doesn't have to be like the latest either. You don't have to, if you don't like what the trends are, then don't go buy those things. But maybe don't wear something that has like a chevron pattern that people are like, that is 2014, like
Yeah.
you have a specific memory if it's something very kind of a bold pattern or something like that. It can be a real challenge. And that's really the biggest thing that I work with a lot of my clients. They're like, I don't even know. I've been so busy taking care of my babies and now I'm stepping back into the workforce and I don't even know where to shop. Where do I even start? Or what even looks good anymore? Or high-rise pants versus low-rise pants, or where are my pants, like how long are my jeans supposed to be? Where do they, how close to the floor do they, I mean, all of those things.
It sounds like a
And
stupid question, but it is legitimate. Like what?
it
I
it
don't know.
really, really is. And even right now, so we're looking at all these things like when I was in high school, the wider leg pants, and boot cut were in style. And the general rule for years and years was your pants should be a quarter to a half an inch off the ground when you're wearing your shoes. And so we would buy multiple pairs of boot cut jeans that were different lengths based on the shoes that we were wearing. And now you can't even, unless you buy long, you can't even get them to get close to the ground. They're all cut like high waters. And that's just the style. And that's how everybody's wearing them. And so to like figure out, okay, how do I want to wear this? How do I pull it off, or what shoes do I wear it with, or whatever. And so just somebody to talk through those things and help you parse out how you feel about it. If you care that much about being on trend, I don't care enough to be on trend to look like I'm wearing high waters. I'm not, I just bought a pair of long jeans the other day. I cannot bring myself to wear jeans that are like 3 inches off the ground and look like I'm ready for the flood. If that's what you like though, then let's figure out how to do it in a way that you feel confident and feel good going out of the house like that. And that's what I really feel like I should have a psychology degree half the
I
time
bet.
because it's a lot of dealing with how people feel about things and helping them to be confident in those feelings and just figure out how to carry that out.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you like how you help people feel confident in the clothes that they have, or like in trying something new that maybe is not like their style or like what they're used to wearing. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like you kind of hit the nail on the head though. It's just like you probably have to try it on and see how you feel a lot of times.
You absolutely have to try it on. And sometimes it's just those little details of like, okay, let's give your shirt a tuck, or let's try it with a, try that shirt with a different skirt or pair of pants or whatever. And teaching them about balance and proportion and how to create that based on what they're wearing and based on their body shape. It's just little nuanced things, but once they have those skills, it changes everything. And probably the most common piece of feedback I get from clients is, I never would have tried whatever, but I'm so glad I did. Like when we shop together, hey, try this dress. And I'm like, oh, I can't wear that dress. Just try it. Just give it a try. If you hate it, we'll never talk about it again. And then they put it on, they're like, oh my gosh, I actually really like this. I never would have tried it. So just helping people be open to new ideas. Now, if somebody's like, nope, I'm not going to try it, or I'm not going to let go of this blazer or whatever it is, I'm not going to force you. That's not why I'm there. But I want to encourage you. Encouraging people that's just my thing. I've always been an encourager. And so I basically just get to give compliments and encourage people for when I work with them. That's what I love doing.
Yeah, sounds fun. Like just being like a hype girl for anybody.
Yes,
That's really cool.
absolutely.
Um, what are some like basic pieces that like everybody should have like to have a good foundation for a wardrobe that can take them from like lots of different things, if they're having a dinner party or they're just day to day with kids, or like those basic things that you feel can really transition between a lot of different parts of life.
Yeah. So, okay. So disclaimer, I kind of hate like those, you go on Pinterest and they're like 10 staple pieces every
Yeah.
woman must have or whatever. And it's like this specific kind of jeans and this, a little black dress or whatever. Hardly anybody needs a little black dress for a couple reasons. One, if you're not a military spouse, or sometimes in the military, when you get to wear civilian things to events, like very few of my non-military friends have little black dress events. So that alone, but also black is not flattering on most people. So it would be a little navy dress or a little, dark brown dress or whatever it is. So that's like, but everybody has such a different lifestyle and different activities. Like for one person, it might be just transitioning from work to their kid's soccer game. But for another, it might be transitioning from I have a neighbor that works on Capitol Hill, and then she has to go to social events out in DC. I can't give them the same like staples list,
Sure.
but I would say if everybody has a great dress that they just put it on and they feel good, and especially if it's something that you can go from like sneakers or some comfortable flats to some heels that will work if you're like, oh, we have that wedding coming up and now I totally forgot about it, and now I need something that I can throw on some great jewelry and, some heels and be good to go. Or I can wear it to the, barbecue with the new commander or whatever. Something that would transition really well for that. A pair of great fitting pants. If you're a jeans girl, get some jeans that you feel amazing in, that make your butt look great, that you can, wear with several different shoes. But I have had a client who she said, I don't wear jeans. I don't, my mom told me I don't look good in denim, and so I don't wear jeans, which is a whole other issue.
Yeah.
Moms, careful what you say to your children, it sticks with them. But I was like, then you don't need a great pair of jeans, but you need a great pair of pants. Like, whether that's some chinos or some like ponte pants or whatever it is, something that you can dress up and down. Um, a good basic like white or off-white t-shirt, or black if that's your thing. Just a good basic t-shirt, and maybe a couple layering pieces that you can, you know wear on their own, like a chambray or denim shirt. You can layer it over stuff. You can wear it as its own thing. You can wear it under a sweater. Like it's so versatile. But it really depends on your lifestyle, on your personality, on your style personality.
Well, I like how like broad you were, like a great pair of pants, a great dress. Like that can mean something totally different to everybody. Well, it probably does
Yes.
mean something totally different to everybody, but it's still like gives you a starting point. So I think that's really helpful.
Yeah. And that's the whole point of being a personal stylist. I mean, there are a lot of influencers and people out there claiming to be stylists who they have great style and they know how to dress their bodies. And they're like, oh my gosh, these are the best jeans. Everybody needs these jeans. No, not everybody needs those jeans. Only people who are 5'10", who don't have a curvy waist and need a long inseam need those jeans. So it's just I don't want people to get so caught up in like I've bought all these things, all the must-have things, and none of it works, and it must be me. It's not you, it's everybody else, and it's the clothes.
Gosh, that's so encouraging. I feel like I've had to like check myself multiple times because you get served up these things on Instagram or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, that looks great. And you're like, I have to like stop myself. Like, wait a second. I'm
Yeah.
5'3", I'm very curvy. This person is
Yeah.
5'10" and is a stick. Like it's not gonna look the same.
No, but they will sure sell it because they and this is no shade for on influencers, but I mean, they make money off of people buying
Yeah.
things from their links, and so that's their business. And so yeah, they're going to tell you that you need them.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I don't know if it's like maturing or what, just being like, okay, this is not for me. Like
Yes.
this looks great for that person. This is not for me, or just like recognizing that like
Yes,
that's not for
absolutely.
everybody. So
Yeah.
that's a good point about like the personal stylist part of it. Like the personal part of it is it's really
Yes.
for everybody individually. Okay, we're gonna get into your last call questions. I know people have gotten some value out of like hopefully they're thinking about their wardrobe maybe a little bit differently or just how they like approach it and
Yeah.
themselves getting dressed and stuff. So we'll definitely have links to everything so people can come find you and work with you and get some more encouragement from you that they've gotten today. But we'll get into your last call questions. The first one is, what is the best party that you've ever hosted?
The best party I ever hosted. Okay, so this wasn't even like planned or anything, but the thing that comes to mind is um when we were stationed at the same base 20 years ago. None of our friends had kids or anything. We all just had dogs. And we had a big snow day, and I had a lot of friends who were teachers, especially. And so school was out, and the guys' missions weren't flying. And I just invited everybody down to our house. We lived on base, kind of like in the center of everybody, and said, bring whatever you have to eat and some board games. And we just hung out and had a day together and just ate food and played games. And it was no pressure. I'm sure I didn't clean my house before they came over. Um, and so it's not about it being like about looking a certain way or whatever. It's about getting people together and just fellowshipping and having an opportunity just to be together and build a community.
Yeah, that's great. I love those like impromptu kind of events. They're
Yeah.
always so great. And then like if you try and recreate it, it like never works the same
No.
because it's like it's
No.
its own thing. You can't do it twice.
Yes. No.
That's funny. Okay, so what's been the best community that you've been a part of?
I have to say we have been so blessed at every place we've been. But I have to say we're currently at Dover Air Force Base, and we had the most amazing community when we were here before. And really, the base community here is still just fantastic. Like, we came back and everybody was like, oh, you're going to love it here. It's just the support from the local community is so fantastic. And it's true. But my four best friends are, from when we lived here before. And our husbands are all friends. Like, it's just very unique. There's 5 couples. Our kids are starting to getting to know each other when we're able to get them together across the country. I just went and visited one of them this weekend in New Jersey, just last minute impromptu slumber party with her, with my kids and her kids. But it's just this group of friends is just really special. And I think that I had been told your first assignment friends would be some of your most special friends, from my parents' friends told us that because they were military, and they were so right. Like, it's just a really unique time in life before you have kids and you get to know each other. You can stay up really late and eat whatever you want and sleep in on Saturday, and that all changes when you have kids, and not in a bad way. It's just different.
Yeah. That's so interesting to hear that about like your first duty station. Like I'm thinking about ours and I'm like, yeah, like we are still very close with a lot of those people. I mean, I feel like you collect people as you go and they're just like you hold
Yes.
on to them, but oh, that's good. I'm
Yes.
glad that you're able to like meet up again. That's always kind of hard to like make
Yeah,
that happen. So I had a
absolutely.
friend from when we lived in San Diego call me last night and she's like, so what do you think about us coming for Thanksgiving? And I'm like, love that idea.
Come
Like
on.
I don't care
Yes,
what else is happening, just come.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Okay, last one here. What is your best party hosting tip?
Oh, my best party hosting tip. I would say, don't stress about it. Like, I have learned, I have seasons of life where I want to make everything from scratch, and I feel like everything has to be like dusted and vacuumed and whatever. And then I have seasons of life where I'm like, yep, it's all from Costco, pre-made, stuck it in the oven or potluck or whatever. And people love it when you say like, come as you are. I mean, I love to get dressed up for a dinner party or something, but when I have the other spouses on the street over last month, and I was like, let's do girl dinner. And so bring whatever you eat when your husband's gone, and just wear, I was like, I'm in leggings and a t-shirt and no pressure. And people just, sometimes they can be a little bit more relaxed and more themselves when they can come into that environment. So it's just be yourself. If you are the everything from scratch, some days I'm that girl. Everything's from scratch, makeup's perfect, all that stuff. But sometimes I'm not. And it's okay to just whatever is feeling right to you. Just have people in your home, or just coordinate something at a restaurant or whatever. Just get people together. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always good to just like hear that over and over again and have everybody remind us like it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be too crazy. So, well, this has
Yeah.
been great. Like I said, we will have links to all of your information in the show notes so everybody can come and learn a little bit more about you or work with you. I know like I said, all these different seasons or transitions in your life, and sometimes you just get to the point where you're like, "Ugh, I don't know, like I need somebody to come tell me what to do."
Yeah.
So you can be that
Yeah.
person.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.